grunt work. Let's see how he goes in the scene. Good thing she'd be running. Look, front wheel up. A kick back. Sounds like a 2J. I'll be corrected if I'm wrong. 777. All the sevens with at 183 mile an hour.
Time to make some engine mounts. See if we can get this thing stuck in place. We'll just drill the hole for the main engine mount and we'll be laughing. Oh, they're fitting good. And there we have our engine mounts. Oh, the most nimble 67-year-old you can find. He can jump from the concrete straight up into a car on the hoist. He can articulate into all sorts of crazy angles. So this is what we're up to. We're trying to get the center console back in one piece. Probably my most hated job on cars, to be honest, but it's gonna get there. Oh, look at that, a couple of ugly little tacks on there, but we're piecing it together. Definitely not made in one piece. It's a lot easier just doing it in a few, but it'll work. Wouldn't even know we're in here, mate. Time to mount a shifter.
Yeah.
The OEM BMW shifter right on top of the new piece of tunnel we've just welded in. So Donnie's marked that out and I think it's going to fit exactly where the old one was, so that should be perfect. I've also got the same intake we run on the Silvia, which is from K-Power Industries. It's probably one of the most affordable manifolds out there, specially designed for these rear-wheel drive conversion cars. So a couple of holes, 3 riv nuts, and that should all fit. Now this is our go-to pedal for anything drive-by-wire controlled. So obviously an accelerator pedal, there's the Bosch part number. You can get these just about anywhere. I'm not actually sure which car they come out of factory, but the reason we like them is they mount flat. So very easy to make a mount for usually. Does it fit, Donnie?
Of course it does.
Oh mate, good measuring. It must be all in that ruler again.
Yeah.
What are you making, Donnie?
Accelerator pedal block.
A block, an accelerator pedal.
Mounting block for the accelerator pedal.
So how does that work?
So this bolts into the car through those three, and this bolts onto that through those 4.
Oh, look at that. Then it should be no other holes going through his firewall. Basically,
Brum.
yeah, like an adapter plate. We were never going to get them screws with a screwdriver. So it's got a couple of threaded holes in it to make fitting the pedal a lot easier. So hopefully that's all going to bolt straight up. So that bolts into the firewall. And just like that, we've got an accelerator pedal. Good job, Donald.
It's good. That's the same height as the original one off the floor.
Yeah, that's perfect. Another quick tip for guys playing around with pedals, it's always good to have your accelerator pedal slightly lower than your brake pedal. If you look at most production cars, that's how they're set up. You don't sort of want them even. It's easy then for your foot to slip off one and go to the other. So usually the brake pedal and clutch pedal are a little bit higher up than your accelerator. So we've got a bit of a plan for the fuel tank. We've got this Aeroflow fuel pump hanger welding, we call them. That suits this, and then that will go through the top of the tank. So K-Power Industries sell this adapter to go to a 74mm drive-by-wire throttle body. Now the one on our car was a billet aluminium made thing. This is a 3D printed item now. To be honest, it's a little bit ordinary, I reckon. I'll show you what the one on the Silvia looks like compared to this. Righto, K-Power Industries, the early one was like that. So it's a nice aluminium piece, which actually does fit pretty well. So, bit of a shame. Oh, it's a fuel tank all tacked up. It's got a bit of a swirl pot inside, which always helps with an EFI in-tank pump. So So we'll see if it fits in the car. That'll be a good start. What's the story now, Donnie?
Filler pipe for our fuel tank.
Let's go have a look at the... Oh, look at that beautiful fuel tank. A couple of 40x3 straps. All sitting in there nicely. Now we're going to be putting a drain in this corner and a couple of breathers up this side. Oh, here's another trick of the trade. Fuel tank strap rubber. You can buy this from all your rubber shops. It's 40mm inside, so that fits perfect around that. So we'll show you when that's fitted up. And remember when you're folding your straps up to allow for the thickness of the rubber. So we've got an extra 5mm overall. So the rubber's 2mm thick either side, and that will make it fit like a glove. So there we have the fuel tank all strapped up. Everything's fitting really good. Now we'll see if we can get this fuel pump hanger in. We've opened up the original inspection plate a bit. That allows us to put the fuel pump in and out as we please without having to remove the whole tank. So nice and simple. So we're just coming up with a bit of a plan for the alternator mount on this. There's not many rear-wheel drive setups. Well, there's nothing off the shelf that will fit this application. So same as the Celica, we've just got to come up with a bit of a plan, do a few measurements, make a couple of templates, and then hopefully make the real thing and it'll fit. That's a good looking plate you've made there, Donnie. I reckon we glue the alternator to that, then we'll all be able to go home. Oh, it's starting to come together now. We'll just have to take one little notch out of this corner to give us clearance for that lower intake manifold bolt. But that uses a 7PK 920 belt, which is one of the only available 7PKs off the shelf. The original K-series alternator, everything lines up really well. It clears the K-power throttle body, and now we'll make up a tensioner bracket off here that pushes down on the top of the belt. So you always want to be pushing on the loose side of the belt. So obviously the crank's the part that gets driven. So this part of the belt gets tight because it's rotating that way. This is your slack side. That's where your tensioner has to go. Never put your tensioner on the tight side. So this is the beginning of the tensioner plate. So obviously three big 10mm bolts going through the front, and that's going to have an idler pulley, which is right here. And we've got to make this slide up and down on that plate, and that will be what tensions the belt. So Donnie's made up a couple of clever little things there, and we'll slot this plate and we'll show you how it all works. Far out, Donnie, how'd you cut that out so neat with a file and a hacksaw?
Skill, mate.
Nah, we got Pete to do it next door in the mill. So Donnie's finished making this beautiful little spacer thing. So the idler pulley goes on that, and then that goes on the plate, and then gives us 3mm clearance underneath, and will allow that to slide backwards and forwards. Well, that's a pretty serious alternator bracket and adjuster. It's definitely not going to go anywhere. Plenty of room down below, easy to adjust from the front. You don't have to try and get under the car anywhere. So overall, that's going to work good. So this is where people don't realise the amount of time that comes into play just making things like this up. Unfortunately, we couldn't just buy something off the shelf for this car to make that work. So sometimes you've just got to make it. Righto, we've started on the extractors. Now that's enough for this video. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week to see what we get up to.
Well, that was interesting.
Break it down.